Pete Bethune took his futuristic powerboat to the Southern Ocean. He went looking for trouble.
Give him heaps!
And boy, did he find it.
If the captain of the Shonamara had turned 2 seconds earlier, we would have been bringing crew back in body bags to their families, for sure.
Whoa. Whoa.
You can't pay somebody like Pete Bethune to do what he did. That has to come from the heart.
Tired and emotional on his return home, it's been one hell of a tour of duty. Crusader or cowboy, protester or pirate, Pete Bethune is a driven, obsessive individual who can rub people up the wrong way. And not just the Japanese.
I get the feeling these days that New Zealand has become like a fat little lapdog, and any country that like Japan that wants to walk over us, we're too afraid to do anything about it.
Good to see you. See, I told you I'd be all right.
But on Friday night, Bethune was among friends, fated by Sea Shepherd, a welcome home for the man who's brought the environmental group publicity money couldn't buy. In their eyes, and his, despite the loss of the boat, a victory.
In some respects, I think I was a lucky guy. You know, I've had an amazing, unique experience. Has changed me, some good ways and some probably less so. Life's this journey, you know, and I think I've contributed the last 5 months.
No regrets.
Not easy though. My senses are just so sensitive now. It's like
the sinking of the Adi Gill and Bethune's arrest and trial has put Japanese whaling under global scrutiny like never before. But all this at a huge personal cost to Bethune. Massive strain on his family as he spent 4 months locked up in a Japanese jail. But still, he says, all worth it for what's become a very personal crusade.
Hopefully there's a lot more Kiwis will start to think about it now. Or they might just think Pete Bethune's a tosser and we don't care whether they hunt whales or not, I don't know.
Do you care what people think about you?
I used to say no, but I do. Every time I get an email comes in and it says you're a tosser and a loser, pity you didn't drown in Antarctica, and that does hurt.
This extreme sailor first made the headlines a few years back when he mortgaged the family home to build his dream boat, the Earthrace, a biofueled trimaran in which he circumnavigated the globe. Along the way, tragedy. A Guatemalan fisherman was killed when the high-tech craft rammed into a fishing skiff in the middle of the night.
Is there another guy? Is there one more?
Are you reckless? Are you a reckless man?
No, some people would consider me reckless, but I don't think I'm reckless, but I'm sure some people would consider me so. I see them as calculated risks. But you get a boat and you travel through these dodgy areas, those risks are involved, and my threshold for risk is relatively high, and it takes a lot for me to be afraid.
A year ago, Bethune's unique speedboat was bought by Sea Shepherd for more than $1 million. Part of the deal, that he skipper the vessel on its maiden voyage to chase and harass the whaling fleet. Sea Shepherd boss Paul Watson. Do you think Pete knew what he was getting into?
I don't think there's any doubt that Pete Bethune knew exactly what he was doing and what he was getting into. He was standing up for the whales, and he was standing up with courage and with determination and resourcefulness, and I think he's a hero for doing it.
And so it was in January, the Adi Gill ended up in the front line of the war against whaling, tailing the fleet with 2 other Sea Shepherd vessels, the Bob Barker and the Steve Irwin.
It was a great tactical asset that complemented the other 2 boats. It gave us sufficient speed that once we got on the fleet, we were on them for the rest of the campaign.
They were 3 weeks into the voyage, had been with the whalers about 8 hours on the day of the collision. Bethune, not at the helm that afternoon, was skippering a crew of 6, 5 of them Kiwis.
I think I had one of my crew went down to put the jug on, so we were going to have a cup of tea. And it had been a massive day. I think everyone had been up for a couple of days at this stage because we knew we were close to the fleet and all the time trying to find them in the lead up to this. So we were sitting on the roof and turned around and here's this boat about a mile away and it's getting closer and closer, but they're coming along to pull along beside us, like maybe 30 metres away from us, I think.
What are you thinking at this point?
I'm just thinking I didn't want my crew to do anything. Like we had a potato launcher, and we had some old onions that we could shoot out this potato launcher. And Jimmy, one of my crew, he was like, "Let me go and shoot him. Let me go and shoot him." And I said, "No, just be cool, mate. We'll just sit on the roof here and watch them come past."
Except the 800-ton Japanese vessel did not simply sail on by.
As it started turning, I still thought it was okay. And what happens, he kind of comes down two waves. So the first wave, suddenly I'm thinking, man, he's going to be cutting quite close to us now. But I still wasn't worried. I thought, I had a lot of faith in the captain, and I thought, he's a captain who's been on that boat for a long time. He'll know what he's doing. But then he came down the second wave and he continued the turn. And then there was this probably about 5-second period where I just knew we were going to be smacked. And you saw all 5 crew on top all dive down into what's called the cockpit area, just on the outside section. All 5 jumped down there. If you stayed standing up on the wing, you had a pretty good chance of getting minced. So all 5 crew jumped down, but it wasn't terrifying because it was over before we knew it. And the violence when that hit us, like it almost sunk the boat. It took us almost down to water level, and this wave just came washing over the top, and we were just this clinging massive bodies in this cockpit area, just clinging onto each other. Lucky no one got swept off the back. Really lucky.
Dutchman Lawrence de Groot was Adi Gill's navigator.
I was on top of the Adi Gill, and you see the bow of that ship coming over you, and you think, this is it, it's done, I'm dead. And we all managed to survive miraculously, and yeah, very, very lucky, I think.
I believe it was deliberate, but I think he was just wanting to nick us. I hope that's the case. If someone was sleeping in sleeping quarters, they'd be dead, for sure.
Whoa! Wow! They hit it?
Despite Mayday calls, the Shonan Maru did not turn back, the crew rescued by the nearby Bob Barker. The Adi Gill was taken under tow but had to be left to sink days later. Heartbreak for Pete Bethune, but it's anger that made him decide to board the ship, the stunt that would land him in jail.
The Japanese basically said it was my fault that we'd turned, not them. They wouldn't give us the name of the captain of the vessel. They denied all responsibility. And so then I thought, I'll go and issue these guys the invoice for the Adi Gill and demand that they pay for a new Adi Gill.
Pete Bethune himself, hero or madman?
Definitely a hero for us, but it's what he did is so unbelievable.
Crew member de Groot is Sea Shepherd's top man in Europe.
It is very, very gutsy to go on a jet ski in the middle of the night and board a security vessel that was sent down to the Antarctic to follow the Steve Irwin. And to jump on it is just unbelievable. It's something you only see in really cool action movies, and he just did it in real life.
Did Sea Shepherd put him up to this?
Actually, this entire idea was Pete's idea, and I would never order somebody to do something like that. I bring people out who are very passionate and who volunteer, and I don't give them orders to do these things. You can't order somebody to put their life on the line. We're not the military here.
I knew if I got on board that vessel, I would be a real headache for that crew to have to deal with me. And the main objective was that they would take me to Japan.
He got his wish, but instead of a couple of days in detention and deportation, Pete was marched off the ship, handcuffed and hooded, to face a raft of serious charges.
I was wondering, do they think I'm Hannibal Lecter here? Because I thought it would just be a couple of immigration guys or something like that. I was staggered at the amount of resource that got put into taking me to prison. Within Japan, the whaling industry portrayed me as the most evil, dangerous man.
You were public enemy number one.
I was the most hated man in Japan by the time the trial came.
The court case was marked by violent protest. Japanese right-wingers outside the courthouse daily, making their views loud and clear.
Human rights abuse against each of Japanese!
Perhaps Pete Bethune was safest behind bars. Prison was a frightening place.
I was nervous walking down between these cells. There's all these weary, caged animals looking out at you, and there's some pretty evil people in there, eh? Murderers and rapists, and quite a few gang members of the Yakuza, which is their equivalent of mafia. A bunch of them in there. And quite a few hardened druggies that are really struggling. Sad place, really sad.
He was locked up alone in maximum security.
You're not allowed to talk to any of the other inmates. You're not allowed to talk to any of the guards unless you're spoken to. Something interesting I found, whenever I woke up, I was never in prison. I never had a dream waking up, I'm in prison. I was always somewhere else. I was on the Adigill. I was at home in my bed. You know, I was over at Whangapā catching fish, or I'd never wake up in prison, and it's always, oh, damn. I can't stop eating,
Pete's months away from home these last few years proved to be just too much. He and wife Sharon split up in September.
I think we were already going to be splitting up anyway. I don't think that the Sea Shepherd campaign was the thing that made us split up. I think we had already changed so much through Earthrace that it was inevitable. But we're not bitter people. You know, we didn't fight over the guinea pigs and the money and stuff like that. She's my best mate. You know, she every second day I got a letter from Sharon all the time through prison, and you know, she fronted up to the media. She looked after my two girls. I had my family all mucked in to help out.
Sharon was at the airport when Pete flew in, and he's been back at the family home, determined to make up for lost time with his two teenage daughters, Alicia and Danielle.
I know I got quite a bit of criticism back here for, you know, deserting my family and things like that, but when you got tough times, that's what families and friends are for.
Tough as it was losing the Adigill, languishing in jail, Pete says his darkest hour was when he heard in prison he'd been booted out of Sea Shepherd. Banned, the group said, for having a weapon, a bow and arrow on board the Adigill. Bethune says Sea Shepherd knew that all along.
I felt betrayed. I felt really bad. And it was on the day before my testimony in court, and it just festered on my mind the whole night. I never slept the whole night, and I started to wonder, is this a ploy? Is it really because I had a bow and arrow on my boat? I just couldn't figure it out.
The Sea Shepherd had seemingly thrown Pete Bethune to the wolves. He got 2 years suspended jail term. Only after the sentencing did they reveal it was all part of a plan designed to get him out and to get him home.
Yeah, I can see why people were angry, because they didn't know the reason behind it, and Pete's legal team was informed, and somehow that message didn't come across to Pete. So that is, of course, is a pity, and it should have reached Pete. But apart from that, yeah, people should have waited till after the trial to see what our plan was to get Pete out of jail, and that's exactly what happened. We got Pete out of jail.
The problem I had was I didn't know, and this just festered inside me for weeks. You know, and even until when I landed at Auckland Airport. It's still brewing away inside me. I turned my Sea Shepherd shirt inside out. You know, I wasn't sure my part of Sea Shepherd or not.
Nice work, awesome, man. What a good day.
The Adigill may be history, but now he's free from jail. Bethune has been assured by Sea Shepherd he's welcome back in the Antarctic anytime. And yes, he's thinking about it.
I'm not saying whether I will go down or I won't, I don't know.
You haven't ruled it out?
No, I haven't ruled it out. You know, I've sacrificed a lot. My family sacrificed a lot. And at this stage, I'd say it's less likely I'd be going down, but I'm not going to rule it out. You know, I might sit here for 6 months and then decide, you know, quick hit. I won't be boarding any of their vessels again, I don't think, though.